Oh, why are we like this? Hold on. We're on top of each other. Okay. Okay. Okay, hold on. Shit. I'm gonna end this. Hold on. No. Cancel. Am I still recording? Okay. And recording!
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Wednesday.
Oh,
Happy Hump Day.
happy hump day. I hope that I get to hump today.
Oh, boom, boom. This is as live as we're gonna get. We have, well, it's mostly my fault, postponed our recording, so we're recording and releasing on the same day. This is episode 9 of A Refined Voyage with Kaila and Michelle. Thank you for joining us. To Brendan's mom, to my mom, and then to Brendan.
Jameson listens.
And our 5 other listeners and viewers, rather. We love you. We appreciate you.
Shout out to Kevin, my friend Kevin.
Shout out to friend Kevin. Shout out, I got a friend called Gus. He listens religiously every week. I'm sure he's wondering where we are, right? Because usually we get up a little earlier. And everyone that's been with us for 9 episodes, that's crazy.
Amazing. Thank you.
Even I've been having dark days in lockdown. And every time it's just daunting. I'm like, oh my God, we have to do this recording. I have to be on video. Right. And as soon as I see you, I'm like, oh, this is so easy.
That's how I feel too.
What's up? I'm free-ish.
Hi! This is amazing. I'm so happy. So, okay, is everything booked with your caravan? And am I
yes. For those who don't know what's happening in Ireland, I don't know why you would know, but if you're interested to know, we have been in a 6-week lockdown. We just finished up yesterday. The numbers have subsided, but they're not as low as they were in the summer. But I think that everyone kind of accounted for that, it being colder weather. A lot of people, I think there are more people doing the tests. So the numbers have gone down substantially. So, I guess we kind of did what we wanted to do. But the Irish government is kind of letting us free for Christmas. So we're under like a level 3 restriction at the minute. So there are no wet pubs open. So wet pubs mean they just sell alcohol. They don't sell food or anything. It's just like going to a pub. Okay. They're not open. They're probably not going to be open until later next year. Restaurants are allowed to open on Friday for outdoor and takeaways. So outdoor seating, takeaway. I think there might be limited indoor seating for like an hour with a maximum of 6 people. So things like that. But as of yesterday, I was able to get my nails done and mustache removed. Oh. And I'll be doing other things later in the week to make me feel human again. Okay. So it's quite fun. We don't have to stay within our 5 kilometers anymore. We can go around the county, but we still have county restrictions. However, that's going to be lifted on December 18th until January 6th. So they're kind of anticipating people moving around for Christmas. And then they've kind of said that the route that they're going in Ireland, rather, is that they're going to lock down and then lift the lockdown and lock down again to try and control the numbers. That will end as soon as a vaccine is available. Once a vaccine is available, healthcare workers and people who are most affected will get that vaccine, and everything will be back to normal, or as normal as it can be. So we're on the right track. I do have a caravan trip planned. I'm going to take lots of videos, and if anybody's interested, maybe we'll put a montage up on A Refined Voyage Instagram. But I'll be doing that from the 19th until the 22nd, and then from the 23rd until the 26th, I'll be out west. So it's super exciting.
It's exciting. I'm happy for you, girl.
Oh, thanks. What's going on in your life? How are the sticks?
Nothing's really changed for me. Like, my business is a bit busier, and like the lockdown is still have like here, I think I explained last week that Toronto, their lockdown is way more severe than where I am in Southern
Right.
Ontario, which is great. But I do find that they are asking like some questions now when you go into like restaurants. So for example, they'll be like, do you live in the same household? And then you have to basically say yes or no, whether you live in the same household. So like, because I live in a small town, people know who I am. I mean, I kind of stick out. So like, if I go anywhere with like Brendan, they're like, oh yeah, I know. Yeah. We don't need to ask you that question. You're here all the time. But otherwise, like I, unfortunately, if someone from Toronto, which people have been doing, come here, maybe it is fortunately, and they ask, do you come from the same household? And I'm with them, I have to say no because I have to be honest. And that's responsible, right? So it's a bit like you can't go out with your friends as much anymore. But if this is what we have to do in order to get rid of like COVID, like I'm totally for it because I miss traveling and I miss my
Oh,
family and I miss my friends and I miss you. And if it wasn't for COVID, I'd probably come and see you, but I can't.
oh, I miss traveling.
Yeah, same.
Um, question.
Okay.
We have gone almost an entire year, it'll be an entire year in March with restricted travel,
Right.
no traveling, no traveling for leisure, for pleasure, for adventure, unable to aid our wanderlust. What's going to happen in 2021? Have you purchased a ticket? Are you saying, forget this mess? I don't care what's happening. I'm traveling. What's going on?
Okay, so I think I mentioned this before, but we had a trip booked to go to Belize last
Right.
year. I can't remember what month it was because time is just flying by, but May. Brendan just yelled to me, May. We had a trip booked for May. And our trip got
Brendan,
canceled.
yeah, he's like, it's been May,
Yeah, yeah,
8 months,
yeah,
16
yeah,
hours.
exactly. So we had that booked, and then it got canceled, obviously. So we booked it through a third party website. So they were like, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you a travel credit until next year. So whatever we paid is a travel credit. So right now there's a travel credit up in the air that we could use within that year. So we have until May. So do I have anything booked? No. Is that money just sitting in the air? Yes. I don't know how things are going to go. I really do want to travel, but I want to do it responsibly. So we'll see, but nothing booked yet. You?
Right. I tentatively
Mm-hmm.
booked to London.
Ooh.
So, for those of you who don't know, Dublin, where I live, and London are very close. Um, as a matter of fact, half of Ireland, maybe a little less than half, is technically the United Kingdom. So if I wanted to go to the United Kingdom, it is very close. So my birthday's in April, and as a traveler, as someone who loves travel, I every year for my birthday since I've been 18 go somewhere. And for two reasons. I love traveling. And another thing is that I love birthdays. And I found myself extremely disappointed every year of my birthday because in April it's tax season. My best friend's an accountant. It's exam season. It's Easter. I think maybe it's the kind of same feeling that people have whose birthdays are close to Christmas,
Right.
where there's so much going on. And I just said, you know what? I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
So selfish, I have a friend that is supposed to come and visit um, me in London in April, and I have a ticket booked. However, that ticket was booked just to give everyone an idea of how inexpensive flights are in Europe. I don't think people really understand, like, intercontinental flights are so
Tell us.
flight from Dublin to London was €5. 5.
I'm Canadian or something. What is that?
$7.50 Canadian, maybe $5.50 US dollars, £4.50. That's including tax. So, I purchased this ticket with the thought of,
What?
well, if I don't make it, I don't make it.
Yeah.
Right. But I do have something booked, and in my head, it is something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very hopeful, but, I've spoken to a lot of people who are like, you know what? I get one holiday a year, and fuck it. Next year, I'm doing it whether there's COVID or not. And the thing that's a little not frustrating, but interesting to me is that people are traveling.
Yeah.
People are going to Mexico. People are doing their thing. I'm sure people are going to London. People are traveling all over the States.
Mm-hmm.
People, like, it's not like travel's not there.
True. Still available.
It's just been, I'm trying to be as responsible as possible. And, I don't know that I'd feel comfortable showing up to Montenegro to travel the island, knowing that there's this, like, even if you do the test and you do everything, knowing that there's this, like, cloud above you, like, you're a foreigner and you're putting us at risk. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I could deal with that.
Also, I think one thing people need to keep in mind is where they're traveling. So, for example, a country like Belize, again, is such a small country and they don't have a lot of money, which means that their healthcare system is also very small. So you're not only putting yourself in potential danger, you're also putting others. And if they don't have the infrastructure to help people when they get sick, then like, what are you doing?
Mood, yeah, for
You
real.
have to think about like where you're going. Are you traveling within Canada? Okay, well, we have a larger health care system. Okay, like if you're in Canada, we have a larger healthcare system, it might be okay. But when you go to a small country where that's not it's not a thing,
Right.
just don't do it. Just
Right.
don't do it.
I think I mentioned last week, I think I did, that I know in Holland, in the Netherlands, a lot of Dutch people are traveling to Curacao,
Oh,
which is an island. And the reason, there's kind of some leeway there because Holland, the Dutch, colonized Curacao. So they're considered kind of a region, or an extension of Holland. Sorry, I keep saying Holland because in Hebrew and other languages, you refer to the Netherlands as Holland, but I understand, I know Holland is a province or state, not the country. So the Netherlands, I'll say the Netherlands. There's some leeway there. And with that, a lot of people have been traveling, and I'm low-key jealous, of course. Fleeting jealousy, but the numbers have gone up. The COVID numbers have gone up, the fatalities have gone up, and it's exactly what you said. It's just that they don't have the infrastructure do that. So it's just, you have to do your best, your absolute best, if you are going to travel, to be responsible and to abide and try and kind of quarantine. I know that if I was going to travel in 2 weeks' time, I would take those 2 weeks and I would restrict my movements, as they say here. I wouldn't see anyone. I wouldn't do anything, just so I know I can be sure. And then, of course, you can take a test. You can take a test in your home country. You can take a test there or whatever. And yeah, it's another expense, but I think that's going to be the reality of it, to be honest. So I guess the short answer for both of us is we kind of have trips planned, but we don't know. What are we doing? Yeah, no idea. Right. So Brendan had a really cool suggestion for us. Shout out to Brendan. He's a good egg. He posed some really neat questions. And one of the questions that really stuck out to me, or one of the suggestions rather, was about transport when you do travel.
Mhm.
So do you use car sharing services like Uber, Lyft? Are there cars sharing services that are kind of low key that we should know about? Do you use public transport? What do you prefer? I want to know your thoughts on it because I have a very strong opinion, but I want to hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, good question, Brendan. But I try to travel as cheap as possible, especially when it comes to
Frugal.
that frugality. Yeah. Because I'd rather spend my money on food. But so that means that I will,
Hungry.
yeah, hungry belly for life. I will use Ubers. I will use buses. I will use whatever the cheapest alternative is. And I try to do it in like a safe way. So I do a little bit of research prior to just being like, oh, I'm going to jump into an Uber in whatever country. There
Right.
was one of my favorite, I don't even know if they exist anymore as a country, but when I was traveling in Asia, specifically Singapore and Vietnam, I used this one like an Uber. It's called Grab Taxi. It is so cheap, especially in Vietnam. I'm telling you, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm just gonna get a Grab Taxi, and then it was like a half an hour ride, and maybe it was $3 Canadian for a half hour ride in a Grab Taxi. And it's very much like Uber. It's an app, you download it, whatever. And maybe also because I was in Vietnam. But if anyone's traveling in Asia and Grab Taxi is an option, do it, do it, do it.
Wait.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on how I travel.
So you do like a mishmash of everything.
Yeah, yeah. What's the cheapest?
Yeah, what's going on.
Yeah,
What I find interesting is that I find like as people, no matter where you're from, we just kind of go with what we know. So like if you land, you're like, all right, I'm gonna take an Uber. But we don't really understand is that every country has its own thing. Like there are Uber bans in some countries. Uber
yeah.
loud. In some countries and cities, Ubers are like 4 times more expensive because they have to pay more taxes and things like that. So for me, first of all, I just want to say I love public transport. As a friend of mine called me yesterday, he tried to say it as a diss, but like I think it's a compliment. He tried to diss me low key. But I am a tree hugger. I try to be as green as possible.
Wow.
I think we all could do better. I know that I can do a little better. But I try to use public transport. But there are a few things that I want to mention. So a couple of like international things that I've found out is that there's one service. I don't know how popular it's going to be post-COVID, but we'll see. It's called Blah Blah Car. Literally, Blah Blah Car. So this service is available all over Europe.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's a carpooling service. So if an individual is driving, let's say, from Amsterdam to Berlin because they have to do something for work or whatever, they'll post on BlaBlaCar, I'm going from Berlin or from Amsterdam to Berlin. I have 3 seats available. I have trunk space available. I'm leaving from this time at this place. If you want to join, it's an app, it's a website, like it has all of the person's information. They take their driver's license, their car number and everything, so it's registered, and it is significantly cheaper. So it'll be like a ride from Amsterdam to Berlin will be like €10.
Right. So that's like something that was happening. I think it happens a lot in universities. So they may have taken that idea from university students.
Right.
Where they posted in a Facebook group, hey, I'm going to, if they say, for example, University of, I don't know, Ottawa. And then they were like, I'm going from Ottawa to Toronto. I'm leaving at this time. I have seats, like you said. And then they'd be like, it's going to cost you this much. But it's the exact same concept, but put into an app now, right?
Right, exactly. They're in the Pacific Islands. I know in Australia and New Zealand, there was one called Kangaride, same concept. If somebody's driving from one place to another, then they'll just post, and it's usually super inexpensive. It's just like splitting the petrol or splitting the gas.
Right.
You know, or like a whatever. Again, if you are taking notes, if you're listening, taking notes, or just a disclaimer that, you know, just be sure to be safe. I would recommend traveling during daytime. There often people travel overnight or going with a friend. But of course, that's an option. So that's one thing that I loved. In terms of intercity travel, I always like to use public transport. Personally, I do have a driver's license and I love sitting in a car. I prefer to be driven rather than driving. How I find that when you're on public transport, you can really take the time to look around. You know, for me, it's like a meditation thing, like sitting on the and then also seeing new things. And I feel like you can like hop off and be like, okay, I'm gonna hop off the bus here and I'm gonna go for this little corner and then I'm gonna hop back on the bus. So I'm all for public transport. Car sharing services, it everywhere differs. In Holland, they use Viavan. They also use Uber and stuff, but Viavan's super cheap, like super duper cheap. And again, it's just a car riding service. Over here, we don't actually in Ireland don't use Uber. We use Free Now. It's just basically an Uber app that connects. It's a Uber-like app that connects taxi drivers, because taxi driving here is a serious career, which it is. So they didn't want to put out, you know, the taxi drivers. So they created a platform, and it's fairly affordable, to be honest. So yeah, I love to use public transport, but you know, on a night out or if you need to get somewhere in jiffy, then you hop in a ride sharing service.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to say, like, being from Toronto, so I have a best friend called Elena. Hi, she's probably listening, from New York. And she came to visit me in Toronto for the first time. So I've mentioned that I'm from the East End, and we were young and broke, and she took the bus in, the overnight mega bus. Shout out to them. I've done it. Yeah, so many times. And she came to Toronto, and you know, I gave her my address in the East End, and I said, you know, do you want me to pick you up? We can take the train. She said, no, I'm going to take a taxi. And the taxi from downtown Toronto, Bay and Dundas, to Scarborough was like $80.
Yeah.
So I think Toronto natives, I don't know anyone else, but Toronto natives, I think we appreciate the car sharing service so much, because it's literally slashed our cost in transport to like 3/4. It's insane. When I was home in the summer, I would, you know, take a Uber from my sister's house in Parkdale to my parents in Scarborough, and it would cost me $30.
Right. Yeah. Versus 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was corrupt in Toronto, low key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. So you've mentioned that your business has taken off. So I'm not going to keep you too long. This is going to be a refined voyage, because the holidays, you're working. I'm busy overcoming COVID sadness and also working on personal growth at the end of the year.
Good for you.
Oh, stop.
Come on. Pat yourself
Stop.
in the back. You did
Oh,
many
yeah.
things this year. I'm so proud of you.
Stop.
Stop.
You're making me cry on camera. But as promised, next week I will be out. So I'm excited to show everyone a little bit of Ireland, a little bit of Dublin. For those of my friends or people who follow, my 70 people who follow me on Instagram, you guys have seen my stories. So I go on little day adventures and post pictures. So I'm really excited to videotape it for our viewers.
I love that. And I love that you said videotape. You aged us.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure treasure. On that note, thank you for joining us on a refined voyage, on our refined voyage. Episode 9. We'll see you back next week for episode 10.
Yep.
And maybe episode 10 will be our last episode for the year.
Maybe. We'll
That
see.
seems like a good number.
I like it. I like it a lot.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll decide.
All right. I love that.
Hell. See you later.
All right. Peace. You made it to the end of the episode. That's awesome. If you liked what you heard and you like what you saw, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. And we'll talk to you soon.